So now is my headset working? I have no idea why that was the case. So now, okay, so, nothing really crazy I've talked about. I'm just kind of going over the Nasdaq. I just realized that I was talking with no sound. But now that we got this straightened out, welcome to the channel, guys. I don't know how long my mic has been like this, but end of the day, welcome to the channel. This is Reliable Rudy. Uh, just giving some pre-market analysis, my thoughts going into today, maybe even going into next week. Who knows? But we're going to talk about the Nasdaq. We're going to talk about crude oil. We're going to talk about natural gas and maybe a few takers in there. And then we'll end this live stream. I don't see anyone tuned in at the moment, but uh, as you guys know, this isn't financial advice. I'm not licensed for any type of financial advice, especially to on YouTube for that matter. Just simply sharing my opinion. Now, whether you guys get value out of it or not, I mean, I'll leave that up to you guys to decide. I think I have a lot of good insights. That doesn't mean that I'm always right. I make mistakes as well. So, you gotta keep in mind like who you're listening to in terms of getting some advice. So I'm just gonna share some technical analysis, and we'll go from there. Simply my opinion. But I would appreciate a like, maybe even a subscribe if you guys get value out of this live stream. Okay, so going into this. So we have the Nasdaq. Now, January, great month. Early February, even some continuation, plenty of opportunities there. But going forward, what are my thoughts? What are my thoughts even for today? So simply just simple technical analysis. I mean, this trend line right here now, uh, we were early in this video, I was talking about a hedge. I was sitting in a Nasdaq short, and simply just because I respected this trend line, I respected the technicals right here. Is that this wasn't the most bullish look off of this triple top right here. And I just wanted to hedge, some of the swing positions. That way I don't have to get so worried when there is, I have an individual position maybe down 4 or 5%, or maybe the position is still positive and it's just having a minor pullback. Let's say we're using the Nasdaq for an example. Once your positive break, if you got a really good entry down here on the Nasdaq and a retest, nice bull flag, takes out the top, retests the previous high, maybe you took a little bit of profit right here, but now you see this and you're like, oh, I gotta get out. Well, taking the profit allows you to, stay true to a set of rules. And my rules are that, as long as, we are negative on our 25 CCI right here, but positive on our 50. And now as long as this stays positive, I think it's possible, goes on a run, builds a U shape. Now where that U shape takes place, it is very tough to say. So just clearing out this chart, this was a very nice run over the last month and a half or so. If I were to just take those lows through the high, you can see we're pretty much just following, just playing the course of any type of run where this is sort of in a retrace phase. And right now we're currently at our 38382. Now, if this were to give up, I would expect, you have pretty decent support over here, even dating into these highs over here back in October. Uh, is it possible for the Nasdaq to have another leg down? Yes, yes. But if we do get another leg down, that's where this negative comes into effect. Now, your half, I would expect some sort of buying pressure in through this half. I would expect buying pressure in at this range as well. It's all very tough to tell uh, on a daily chart exactly when you're going to get the volume into something like the Nasdaq. But going into a 15-minute chart, we're going to talk more about yesterday's price action and today's price action. Now, if I was just going to mark this, this is probably some sort of downtrend, descending channel to the downside, something like that. Now you do get this spike over top right there, but it's still respecting it to an extent right there. So I would expect this channel. Now this doesn't mean that we can't break over top of this channel. If I were doing more technicals on a shorter time frame right here, here is a downtrend. right there. Now a lot of clustering right there. But you can also see that we end up breaking through that and we get a direct correlation with the top end of this downtrend in yesterday's market. Now also, if I were to put a stop loss in, underneath this double bottom, you could have had people saying, "Hey, this is pretty solid risk reward right here." It's just been on a straight downtrend all day. We're expecting a little bit of profit taking for anybody that's sitting in a short, and we're expecting uh, some liquidity to go into the longs as well. Now, looking at this, when is your positive break? You see, you get a positive break. It's up here. But if you were pushing for an early entry, which is a trade that I took yesterday in the TQs, is the break of this wick. Now, once I got this break, I also put an order in off of these tops right here. So it, it's all about just building the position. Now, the TQ, I think, as long as we're positive on the daily chart, I think that the Nasdaq has a chance to flip at any given time. But was also sitting in a short. So it's all about playing the volatility where you're comfortable, of course. But at the end of the day, as long as we're positive right here, I think that the bulls can flip this script. Now, I would like to see, before taking an entry in the Nasdaq, I want to see this U shape actually develop in some way, shape, or form. So for this to have any weight, it's gonna have to push yesterday's high at some point in time. It's gonna have to push this high. Now, whether we get the leg down before it pushes that high, I don't know. I really don't know. But end of the day, if this were to start turning bullish, I think that the people that were short Nasdaq up here off of this sort of triple top action, I think they're going to be getting very nervous that, hey, this could potentially end up building a U shape. Now, what's another technical that I like about this little setup right here? And we're going to just talk about this little price action over the last 3 days. If I were to just connect the tops right here, it does trade above it a little bit, but at the end of the day, this has acted as resistance in some way, shape, or form. Now, I also connect the bottoms. Now, same story, couple wicks below that, but for the overall broad sense of things, this has been acting pretty well. Now, you see how this is this cone shape. Now, when I talked about the last, couple weeks, we have an overall downtrend. Now, when I start seeing this cone action right here, it gives me a sense like, okay, we're trying to at least attempt to have some momentum switch. Now, if that were to happen, the overall sentiment over the last couple of weeks is bearish. If the sentiment has some sort of turn, then I'm expecting this to turn bullish. Now, as of right now, the futures, we're going to open down more than likely, unless just some ridiculous volume were to come into the market. But when you're way negative down here right now on a 15-minute chart, you're negative 130 and negative 87. But I do think that there is some promise and there is some upside going into today because this low held pretty good. And it has a very strong close to the end of the day. Now, if I were to mark this bottom of the move to the top of the move right there, you see the 702 retracement. We did have a slight close below that, but you still have one more retracement after that. Now, if this is able to trade sideways, I think there is going to present some sort of opportunity to punch long on the Nasdaq, possibly today. Now, if this were to give out and we retest these lows, I think that the shorts are ultimately going to take over on this, and we're going to see a leg down. When we go back to that daily chart, where is our potential leg down for another move? You have these previous tops right here, which is our 1/2 mark. So I think that there is going to be another opportunity if we do get that leg down to punch long in the Nasdaq potentially. Keep that in mind that this is just my opinion. I do not know what is going to transpire today, but this type of setup is interesting to me for the longs. Now also, it adds into question that if I think the Nasdaq has a possibility of giving you a long opportunity to punch long after it's been extended through January and February, I think that some stocks are going to also give you that opportunity to punch long. Um, some people say risk on for riskier types of plays. I like to just invest into fundamentally sound companies, and if I have a little leftover cash and I have a good setup that I like, okay, I can jump into maybe a more riskier security. But end of the day, I think that today is going to be a very interesting trading day if the Nasdaq catches some sort of momentum. I think that there's going to be opportunity to get entries into the Nasdaq. Now, where could this extension end up going? So I'm just going to clear the chart and we're back on the daily chart. End of the day, this wick does go into these previous lows a little bit, but I'd like to see some sort of push into these body candles and actually test this like 12,400 on the Nasdaq. So that is what I'm going to be looking for in terms of today. I want to see this low. Now you can see this is a bear flag too. Now why is it a bear flag? You have three red candles to the downside, the last one, and you have a couple wick tops right here. Now from this red body candle, you're focused on the next three trading days. One, two, three. Now you can see this is the third day. You're expecting some sort of gap down. Boom, there's your gap down, there's your fill the gap. So it does have a catalyst for potentially another leg down in the Nasdaq. So it's going to be a matter of, short term at least. It's going to be a matter. I think today is a very big trading day. So if uh, that's partially why I wanted to do a live stream right now as well. So that is my thoughts on the Nasdaq, and it's going to be interesting to see which way it goes. But more in particular, back to this 15-minute chart. If we look at this, we are still wicking into this previous low. So this previous low is going to be a level, and this is going to give you potentially an opportunity to buy a breakout. Now, if this comes down, trades back down to this 702 level, let's put that, this is going to be the big retracement for especially the open. Is this retracement going to be able to hold? Now, if that gives out, is this low going to hold again? If it gives out this low again, I just don't know if there's going to be much strength going off of that. I just don't see it if we retest these lows again. I mean that would be just a classic a move to the downside and build a in, to the downside. But I mean it's the same scenario. Move to the upside, build a U shape. Move to the downside, you know, build this sort of U shape to the downside. I mean if I flip this chart upside down, I would say this looks pretty bullish for continuation. But there is a catalyst, as I stated before, that you know this cone-like structure right here, in some scenarios, is an indicator that you're getting some type of reversal or momentum switch. So that is the Nasdaq. Now we will go over and switch over to oil, where, at the time being on a 15-minute chart at least, you're actually getting a positive break right now. And 76 has been a level that I've talked about multiple times. But if we go over to the daily chart, this has just been trading sideways. It, oil out is very interesting because um with elevated oil prices, some of these oil, and we have just we're mostly through the earnings season for the most part. And I've looked through tons of oil earnings. Now, that does not mean that this is a correct statement, but some of these oil earnings have been, you know, pretty extraordinary if I don't say so myself, just from a valuation metric on the type of profitability, the margins that they're able to put up, and also the return to shareholders, whether it's in dividends or in share buybacks. Some of these buybacks at these oil companies now, obviously they're able to buy back and have those higher margins because oil prices were extended. Uh, but this is a very interesting level, and simply because you go to a month chart and you see this nice W pattern, and we're just trading right at the neckline. So my thoughts, and when looking at the month chart, same story as like the Nasdaq on a daily, where on your 25, it's slightly negative, but you're still positive. You're expecting at some point in time the volume is going to come in. Now this chart moves very slow. Every candle here represents a month. Now you can see the buying pressure that's coming in off this neckline. This is just your sideways action. But at the end of the day, what is a good setup that I like to trade off of? Goes on a run, I would call this a pretty significant run in oil. Can we all agree that this is a pretty significant run in oil? Goes on a run, builds a U shape. Now, at any point in time through this run, do you see a significant U shape? Now, you could say, here was your run, here's your U shape. Now, on a daily chart, I'm sure it does give you a U shape type of look. But this, to me, on a month chart, just looks like a nice bull flag. You have good volume, one, two, three. Here's your third candle. Boom, takes out that high. This is simply just a bull flag. Now you look at your entry. When do you get your positive break on oil? Boom, you don't get it till this third candle right here. Now you could say, "Oh, dude, oil is just down here. Oil was just down here. Let's give it some time to breathe." And you don't take this positive break, boom, you miss out on this massive run in oil. Isn't that something? I mean, it's quite extraordinary to me, at least. But now, taking a look at oil, where would you have entered had you not taken this positive break? Are you going to take the breakout of this high? It's also a neckline breakout, which is now currently our neckline, but you have this overhead resistance, so it's like it's really tough to get an entry into here. And now anybody who took a late entry in off of this, they're out of the money. They're out of money. But I guarantee for anybody who got oil entries in right here, there was at least some sort of profit take. Now, if they didn't, that's on them. Maybe they're just long oil. Maybe they think that, hey, they're saying to themselves, hey, I think that oil can potentially make a push up for this high. I think it's possible. Now, I would have to agree with them. I think that oil is very interesting, and just looking at this monthly chart, the monthly chart, the longer time frames in my experience will give you a better look of the overall sentiment of whatever you're looking at. But we go back to the daily. Now, this is an interesting trend line that we talk about with oil. Boom, 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 boom. And now we're kind of getting a little bit of confirmation. This is a nice shade bottom green candle right here. It's retesting the previous low. It's putting a wick into it right now. But we are starting to get a slope up. Now, oil would have faked you out 3 or 4 times by now. It would have. I'm going to show you guys right here. Look at this positive break right here. Pretty good look. You'd say, hey, goes on a run, builds a U shape, right? It even gives you a second positive entry, double tops. Boom. Support gives out, where do we hold? We hold. This is where we truly start getting the test of the neckline. Now, when's your next positive break? You get a lot of action right here. Now, you actually do get a little positive break right here. Boom, double top, fakes you out again. What do? We retest the neckline. Now, what does it do again? It gives you another positive break. Now, you'd think, oh, dude, this is set. This is ready to go. And boom, what do? We just reject the downtrend. There's a downtrend sitting just like this, give or take, that oil needs to fight through. But this could be a really good catalyst for a potential neckline break. If you're able to push and get another positive break and push this 7650, we can call it, and actually push this downtrend and break over top, this is going to be, in a sense, a left leg, a neckline break. Now, will it retest this uptrend again? I don't know, but I think that the valuation, this uptrend on oil right here is very, very interesting. So oil, to me, I think is definitely going to be on watch, and it's going to be interesting to see where it ends up panning out. Overall, I think that the chart setup is there. You're not getting the moves in oil right now because it's fighting this downtrend. Now, you could even say that, hey, this is potentially a descending channel right there. Boom. If we do get a break of this neckline, I already have marked where I'm expecting to go. At least the next leg down in these low 60s. You know, it it would be off of this uptrend, but I still think that it represents a pretty decent opportunity compared to some of the valuations that a large mover in like big tech. We can go even talk about Tesla. Is that it's very, very scary to think about. So I'm just gonna leave it at that and not talk about it. Um, going down to natural gas. We're going to go over natural gas right now because this is probably the most interesting play on the market, in my opinion. That does not mean that you're getting fair price. Yeah, I mean there's so many variables that go into commodities in terms of supply of that individual commodity and then the demand of it. And then natural gas is also touchy. It's because, how long is there going to be a need for natural gas? I don't know. I don't have the numbers for that. But from a charting perspective, when you look at January and early February, and we've had some really big movers, this is a pretty cut in stone type of head and shoulder right here. I mean, anybody can see that this is, in some sort of sense, a head and shoulders top, and here's your follow through. Now, when is this falling knife going to stop? An easy indicator. Look at your negative break. Boom. Negative, negative. Up here. Now, had you just said, hey, we're giving out this trend line right here, we even back tested the bottom of it. Let's just say you didn't cut this natural gas to right here. You still saved yourself 50%. 50%. Quite magnificent. Now had you said, hey, it's negative, negative break, we're gonna wait for this to go positive. Look at this. Look at this. You're about to get your first positive break on a 25 CCI. Now this is no slouch of a move. If I were to just clear my chart right here, this is no slouch of a move in natural gas. 26%. Now if you're playing something like a Boyle, let's go look at Boyle. This is a 2 times natural gas leveraged ETF. I mean, just look at this. Boom. Only 29%, pretty much the same, but that is just an insane move over a 3-day period of time. Now, if you are to get a positive break, and let's just hypothetically say that, this gap fill at 18 eventually ends up getting filled. That is still a 230% move. Absolutely insane. This is what makes it one of the most interesting plays on the market. But right now, you are testing these previous lows. Pre-market up a little bit, 563. Okay. Uh, there's all sorts of technicals that I can go into with natural gas, but right now we're just focused on when is this positive break going to come in natural gas. And this is a nice move, 26%, and it does have a gap up from yesterday's trading day. You know, is there support here? If I were to move this line, so 230, we'll just go, we'll leave it there at 230, and we're just going to switch it to a month chart actually. And we're going to move this all the ways over, and we're going to leave it here at 230. Right off that gap fill, do you have enough support to go off of right there? I would say there's multiple wicks that go into this. There's days where it trades underneath of this, but there is all sorts of support in this range. I mean, I can mark just tons of support in that range. Who knows where this bottom is going to come in? I mean, I don't know. But all in all, you have this head and shoulders. You put some sort of double top in right here. You probably have some sort of downtrend right there. Are we going to get a retrace into this downtrend in some way, shape, or form? This is what makes it so interesting, is because January has been such a positive month for people. Well, not natural gas. I'll say that much. So natural gas, definitely very interesting, and it's actually just peaked over that 250, just briefly got over that 250 as we were sitting here watching it. So pretty, it's, I mean, if you're sitting on good gains and maybe you're taking a lot of profit and you're sitting on a bunch of cash and you're feeling risky, if you're looking for the volatility, I'd say natural gas is your play. To the short side as well, if you said, I think natural gas is it's a falling knife, I think it's going to continue. You could play around with a natural gas short if you wanted to, with KOLD. The Pro Shares Ultra Short Bloomberg Natural Gas. It is a leveraged ETF. So volatility is definitely there with leverage ETFs. But we go over to a day chart and you're holding positive. I would expect continuation. I would expect volume to come into this short at some point in time. Now, where could that levels come in at? You just set a fresh high. You put wicks into this previous top. Here's your first one, but it gave that up. Okay, that's fine. I'm sure you still have some sort of uptrend here that you can count on. Well, it's sort of trying to give it up a little bit. This is what makes natural gas very interesting, because anybody short is making a killing. Is making a killing out there. So yeah, I think natural gas very interesting. So that wraps up uh, the Nasdaq. We talked about the Nasdaq, talked about oil, talked about natural gas. Uh, we can go talk about Tesla real quick if you guys wanted to. How many times have I showed you guys goes on a run, builds a U shape? Now from the earnings day, you have this previous low as well. You're saying, you get the big gap up and continuation with it. I would be absolutely astonished. Astonished. I'd be willing to bet some of my toes on this and live with that for the rest of my life. If 145 gap from this earnings does not get filled, I would absolutely be shocked. Shocked. Now, I'm not trying to scare you guys. For all I know, maybe Tesla makes a push up for this 265 gap, which I've told people, if you are sitting in a Tesla long from down here and you see 265, I will personally drive to your house and trim some of your shares. I will do it. You have a gnarly downtrend that was respected. If we seen 265, you're going to be meeting in with that downtrend and this gap. Good almighty. Good almighty. I pray to some people. Now, if you're punching long up there, so help you Lord. But I'll leave it at that. Nonetheless, I think that you're uh, sitting positive, sitting very good. I would expect volume to come in on pullbacks. If it doesn't, okay, where's your retracements? Where's your gap fills? I see we do have another gap, so this could be a catalyst for it goes on a run, builds a U shape. We could just fill 181 real quick, and before you know it, we're setting new highs up at 220, and maybe you do get to 265. All in all, I would expect more of a pullback for this U shape to sort of develop, because we don't get a confirmed higher low. Here's your low that you set. You see how you said no lower high? If I'm being completely honest with you guys, I think Tesla will fill 113 this year. And if I'm being even more honest with you guys, I think we retest this previous high on Tesla. And this is a potential area where we could set a bottom. You have this uptrend that has not moved. This uptrend does not move because it may have moved a few times. Let's get that direct contact right there. Boom. Yes. Love it. Love it. Love it. But if you trade sideways, maybe even continue on this downtrend some way, shape, or form, I think that this uptrend eventually makes contact with it. It's a healthy uptrend. We switched to a month chart, and you guys see this? Yeah. I'll put money down with anybody that we will come in contact with this uptrend. Maybe it's up here. Maybe it's up here. Let me put that in perspective. This is the year 2030. 2030. 2030. And this does not yet break a high. Let's just pull this uptrend up a little bit higher. Where would we have to break contact before we finally break over this high? Boom. I'm just going to mark that high. Okay, right here. This is the year 2032. 2032. Now, if you're saying to yourself, okay, I like Tesla for the long term. That's what everyone keeps saying. Oh, Tesla long term, they're so ahead of the game. EV this, EV that. Baloney, guys. Baloney. Just 2, 3 years ago, this was trading down here at 25. It ran up to 400. You got a joke of a CEO, and don't even get me started on the uh, on the stock options that Elon Musk is set to receive in the year 2025, I believe it is. I think it's $48 billion worth of stock options that he's going to get. That is going to be a lot of selling pressure on Tesla, guys. I mean, I know you guys are sitting here, oh, he doesn't need money. He might need money if the price of Tesla is down here at 60 bucks. Or I mean, a retest of the previous highs on Tesla is 25. Oh boy, it retested. I'm just saying, guys, it retested it here in 2020. That was the COVID drop. Just, I just hope you guys are careful with this one. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying. So, that being said, I'm not gonna go over any individual tickers, but, uh, yeah, I, I went over what I wanted to go over, and it's gonna be interesting to see what the Nasdaq has in store for us, and yeah, we'll go from there. So, if anybody tuned in, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you guys on the next one.